May 26, 1990, Wellington, Florida. A doorbell rings and a wife and mother opens the front door to find a clown with an orange wig, white face, red nose, and gloves holding flowers and balloons. What she believed was a delivery and gesture of kindness wasn't. It was an ambush and a point-blank gunshot to her head. After firing, the clown turned and calmly walked away to a waiting car. But why murder this woman who seemed to have no enemies? Rumors of affairs swirled, and while her husband had an alibi, his mistress bided her time before becoming his second wife and living happily ever after. This murder would sit cold for 27 years, but makeup washes off and secrets don't stay buried forever, and advances in DNA can bring a killer to justice. This is Marlene Warren and the Killer Clown. Hey, y'all, I'm Chris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Potter. Welcome to Hitched to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for our friends off the Ivory Coast.
Yes.
Aquaba.
That sounds very nice.
No.
Well, wherever you're listening, be sure to subscribe to Hitched to Homicide. Then like, rate, and review the podcast so other people who love true crime and are just like you can find us.
Yes.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button below.
Mm-hmm.
If you want true crime with us all the time, please join our closed Facebook group, The In-Laws and Outlaws. Go to Facebook and type in H2H In-Laws and Outlaws. Answer a few questions, and you are in. During the month of October, there were so many Halloween memes.
They were good, too.
Bodies in the front yard wrapped in black plastic. How to do it?
Yep.
Telling you, go join.
Yep.
I post photos and other information in there as well. They're a really great group of folks. We love them so much. You can find us on Instagram at Hitched to Homicide or on X at H2H_podcast. And we also have a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to send Rob some coffee or me a chai tea because it's super cold. It's now November.
Yep.
It's sweater weather.
It is sweater weather.
But he drinks his coffee every episode. I only have a chai tea every now and then. I did find some sugar-free chai, so I'm pretty excited about that.
All right, good.
You can find that link in our show notes. You can also send us a text. The link to that is at the top of the show notes where it says, send Chris and Rob a text. We love to get them. Send them on.
We love to hear from you.
Well, Rob, this really is a till death do us part case. And they're clowns. We're in Florida. They're getaway cars. We've got all kinds of like rumors and anonymous callers. It's a good one.
It sounds like paradise.
Not paradise, just true crime.
All right.
Before we get started, let me thank some sources. WPTV, Crime Timeline, All That's Interesting, CBS News, Oxygen Channel, Palm Beach Post, People Magazine, CNN, ABC News, Chilling Crimes, Movie Delic, like an alcoholic or something, Movie Delic. I don't know. I'm just telling you how I think it's supposed to be said.
All right.
Yahoo, 48 Hours, The Sun Sentinel, and Reddit.
Wait, I want to do one more thing. WBTV.
In Florida.
In Florida.
Do you remember in Florida? I can remember in Florida when I was a teenager, maybe even in college. You'd be listening to the radio and they would go, ding, ding, it's time to turn over. So if you were laying out in the sun, they would like every half hour, like
no way,
chime this little bell and tell you to flip over because they want your tan to be even. But now it's just like, wear your 90. Don't get skin cancer, everybody.
Yeah, in my case, it was make sure you've got your umbrella up. All right, well, you ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
Marlene May McKinnon was born on April 15th, 1950 in Mount Clemens, Michigan, to Leonard and Shirley Schwartz McKinnon. Marlene has an older sister, Leanne, and a younger one, Debbie. Growing up, she had this wonderful childhood, lots of love between her parents and her sisters, and she also shared a tight bond with her grandfather. She spent lots of time at her grandpa's farm, which was near Detroit. Now, her parents do divorce somewhere down the line, I think after everyone becomes an adult. She went to New Haven High School, and when she's a kid, she loved clowns. Ugh. Her childhood room was decorated with clowns, and she even liked to paint them. Do you like clowns? There are people who are deathly afraid of clowns.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of them, but, they don't do anything for me.
Ronald McDonald does nothing for you?
No, not at all. Just the fish sandwich. That's about it.
I like when the clowns get out of the tiny little car. And they just keep getting out. They just keep getting out. And you're like, where did they all come from?
Yeah, exactly.
When Marlene is just a teenager, around 16, she marries John Ahrens. I don't know if she got pregnant and then they got married, but by the time she is 18 years old, she's the mother of two sons, John Jr., who goes by Johnny, and Joseph. I can't imagine having two boys.
At 18.
At 18.
Holy Moses.
I was only worried about what I was wearing when I was 18.
Exactly.
She loved these boys, and they were her whole world. But by the time she's 20 years old, she's a single mom of two after she and John divorce. But in this same year, 1970, she meets 18-year-old Michael Warren. And these two fall in love. And on April 27th, 1972, just 2 years later, Mike and Marlene marry. And Mike would raise Johnny and Joe as if they were his own flesh and blood. Now, I don't know really what happened to her first husband. I know that he was alive during all of the things I'm going to talk about in this true crime, but apparently he wasn't that close with his kids, or maybe he was, and I just couldn't find that.
Okay.
Mike and Marlene moved to Florida, West Palm Beach, and they started a new life together. Mike ran a successful car lot business, and they started investing in real estate. And Marlene's a really good businesswoman, and she owns multiple rental properties with her husband in West Palm. And she also worked as, get this, a cargo ship inspector.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like very specific, but
yeah.
I mean, I guess if you live on the coast and cargo's coming in, somebody's got to inspect it. She was one of them.
That's amazing.
Mike and Marlene started to make some real money. They're living a very comfortable life together. But in September of 1988, Marlene's firstborn son, Johnny, is killed in a tragic car accident. I looked this up. I found the article in the newspaper, and apparently he failed to stop at an intersection, and he hit another car. He died at the scene. Wow. The other driver was fine, but Johnny was only 22. Now, Marlene's 38 at this time, and she is just devastated. And according to many friends who are quoted in loads of sources that I read, Marlene was never the same after this, which you can completely understand.
How could you be?
But I think it took a toll on her marriage as well, because it's also around this time that Marlene's husband, Mike, begins an affair with a woman who works for him, 27-year-old Sheila Keen. Sheila Marie Sheltra spent most of her childhood in LaBelle, Florida. Her family moved to Martin County, Florida around 1980, where she attended high school. Her father, Robert, owned a construction company in Indiantown, Florida. In 1984, Sheila was arrested for shoplifting in Palm Beach County, Florida. That was followed up with a felony theft charge in the summer of 1986. Wow. That's according to police records. Okay. She was sentenced to 6 months probation. So she's a kid, but getting into trouble. Yeah. In May of 1987, she married Richard C. Keen. Everybody called him Spud.
Why, he liked potatoes or something?
I don't know. Maybe he was a potato head, but I can think of tons of great nicknames, but Spud is not one of them. That sounds like something you would name your dog, you know? That's Spud.
Come here, Spud.
That's Spud and that's Waffles. You got two dogs, you know, exactly. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's 23 when she marries him in 1987. He, Spud, is 41.
Whoa.
Right.
Wow.
Their son Charles was born shortly after. And by 1990, both of them worked for Mike Warren in his car lot. Spud and Sheila's primary job was to repossess cars for Mike's dealership. That is some tough, rough and tumble. That's because you never know who's coming after you when you're repossessing a car, right?
I've watched some YouTube videos of car repossessors, and man, that's hardcore. They get a lot of flack, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's not like in the movie Stripes where Bill Murray's car is being driven away and he's like walking down the alley with the pizza and he's like, hey.
And he throws the 2x4.
Yeah, it's not like that. I mean, people come out fighting.
By the way, Stripes is in my top 5 all-time favorite movies.
Somebody else wrote in the In-Laws and Outlaws that they were with you on Caddyshack.
Oh, yeah.
You got a Caddyshack you got Caddyshack friends.
Awesome. Thumbs up. Caddyshack, Stripes, all those.
We're showing our age.
Trading Places.
But in January of 1990, Sheila filed a domestic violence protection order against Spud, for physical and emotional abuse. And I don't know if it's during that time that Mike and Sheila started their affair, but it's pretty clear that she relied on Mike for emotional support and possibly financial support because she moved out of the home that she shared with Spud and into an apartment allegedly paid for by Mike Warren. It's an apartment that Mike frequented a lot. In fact, it was pretty widely known around the car dealership that these two were having a blatant, full-blown affair. And whether Marlene is aware of this is unknown. What we do know is that Marlene had threatened to divorce Mike several times, but Mike has told friends that he would never divorce Marlene. These two had built these businesses together, and there's not a prenup because they started with basically nothing.
Right.
And Mike wasn't going to allow Marlene to take half of everything. Marlene had even said to her mother, if anything ever happens to me, you make the police look into Mike.
Should I play the piano right now?
You want to say it?
No, go ahead.
That's called foreshadowing.
Okay, all right, here you go.
And in April of 1989, when Mike is leaving the courthouse in Palm Beach for reasons unknown, he ran into an acquaintance, Christopher DeSantis. Christopher is an attorney, and Mike point blank asks him, quote, if a husband were to kill his wife, what would happen to her estate, end quote.
Wow.
And DeSantis said his first impression was, this guy's nuts, because why would you ask that question with your wife, like, within earshot?
Yeah.
And then he looks around and he realizes that Marlene's not with him. And I'm assuming because you would assume Mr. DeSantis is thinking that this is a hypothetical question, he answers. He explained to Mike that if a husband killed his wife, the issue of inheritance would depend on whether he was convicted of murder. Quote, if he's convicted of murdering his wife, he wouldn't inherit. But if he were convicted of a lower charge, he would, end quote. Wow. And he goes on to explain to him that if someone else committed the murder and the husband couldn't be tied as an accessory, quote, he'd get away scot-free, end quote. Now that's called foreshadowing.
What's more?
So he basically told Mike that if he'd just get someone else to do it, he'd get away scot-free as long as they couldn't attach him to the killer.
Okay, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a lawyer or you're an idiot.
Or a true crime podcaster.
If somebody came up to you and asked you that question, wouldn't that raise your spidey senses just a little bit? Just a tiny smidgen, little bit?
I mean, you would think, but I think he's thinking this is hypothetical.
But
I suppose.
Okay, out of all the hypothetical questions that you could ask a lawyer, come on.
Right.
And he didn't report this guy to the police.
Hang on.
Okay, all right.
Mr. DeSantis told Mike that if someone wore a clown suit, they would get off because no one would be able to identify the features, like whether or not they were male or female, or identify the person committing the crime. Send a clown. Get someone you don't know to wear a clown suit with face paint and the nose and the whole shebang.
All right, the lawyer needs to be an accomplice. I'm sorry.
He's not.
Okay.
By the time 1990 rolled around, Marlene and Mike are very successful. They're owning all these businesses, including this car lot, which was now also a rental company. It's called Bargain Motors, and they also owned tons of rental properties, and they're living in the village of Wellington, located in West Palm at the Aero Club. It's a community that has its own 4,000-foot runway in the center.
Wow.
So you can land your private plane and park it in the hangar behind your estate. Nice digs.
Yeah, big time.
And they did own an airplane and a racehorse. But all wasn't perfect under their roof, obviously. Marlene and Mike have been fighting, and Marlene tells her mom, right? If something happens to me, you better make the cops look at Mike.
If a clown shows up at my door.
She had no idea it was a clown.
Wow.
At 10:45 a.m. on May 26, 1990, Jo, her youngest son, had some friends over for breakfast. And being the doting mother that she is, Marlene is busy making food for the kids when the doorbell rings. And she and the kids can see this clown wearing this orange wig and a red bulb nose and gloves and a painted-on smile, walking up to the door with flowers and balloons. So they can see this clown walking to the door, and then the doorbell rings.
Sure.
Marlene opened the door and was greeted by a person in this clown costume, and Jo hears his mother say, "How pretty," after answering the door. So she sees the flowers and the balloons. How pretty.
Right.
But before she could process anything more, the clown gave her a few balloons. One was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and the other said, "You're the greatest," then proceeded to fire at her from point-blank range. Jo hears the gunshot, and at first he thinks it's one of the balloons popping, but then he watches his mother fall to the floor. He runs to his mother's side, and he looks this clown in the eye and notices that the clown has deep brown eyes. Now, Jo ran to and out of the front door after the clown. The clown turned and looked at Jo and then continued on to a white Chrysler LeBaron with no tags. The clown gets in, drives off, never to be seen again. And Jo says that the clown just got in the car and pulled out slowly and just drove off like nothing was wrong. And one of his friends called 911 and stayed with Marlene because she is still alive, while Jo and another friend jumped in Jo's car and tried to chase after this white LeBaron, but they never do catch up. Now, one of the questions I had from the get-go after reading all of this is that if this is a place that you can land your private plane, do they not have security to get into the community? I mean, so many places you have to stop and buzz in and...
Yeah. Well, but we have a neighborhood that's just around the corner from us that has, security gates and stuff, but they're open during the day.
True. And this is at 10:45.
Yeah.
Back at their home, Marlene's been shot in the mouth and is critically wounded, but she is alive. She's immediately taken to a hospital where she's placed on life support with the family hoping that she's going to recover. But unfortunately, that just doesn't happen. As Marlene's condition never improves, she is taken off life support on Memorial Day, May 28th, 2 days after the attack.
Uh-huh.
The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. Now, with no other evidence apart from the balloons and the flowers the police got from the home, they launched an extensive investigation. At 1:18 p.m., just 3 hours after the shooting, the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office receives an anonymous call from a female caller telling them to look at Marlene's husband, Mike Warren. Now, Mike has an alibi. He was on his way to a racetrack in Miami with two of his buddies. So he's got an alibi and that it's not him, at least personally.
Right.
He tells the police that Marlene was the one who was in charge of renting their properties, and she was also the one who would have to evict tenants. And he tells the police it must have been somebody who was holding a grudge against her. But this same anonymous caller mentioned another name, 27-year-old Sheila Keen. And police look into Sheila and discover that she's separated from her husband, Richard, Spud. And as they ask around, they discover that Mike and Sheila were having a torrid love affair. Car lot employees revealed to the police that Mike was having a brazen, long-term affair with a very young coworker. Quote, it was no secret that he was a player. They'd leave the doors right open. There was no hiding it, end quote. That's one of his employees saying this.
All right.
At 3:18 p.m., detectives interview Mike. He gives them his alibi, his solid alibi. Then at 7:30 p.m. that night, the owner of a costume shop, Spotlight Costumes on South Dixie Highway in West Palm, contacted detectives saying a woman with long, dark brown hair and big, beautiful brown eyes purchased the costume 2 days before the murder. When shown a photo of Sheila, this witness and another who was working at the shop at the time, they confirmed that they thought Sheila had been the one who had come in looking for a clown costume. They also claimed that the woman was in a hurry and that she had requested extra face whitener for, quote, complete facial coverage, end quote. But the woman passed on the large, floppy shoes. Got to make a quick getaway. Can't do that in clown shoes.
Yeah.
Based on the receipts from the store, detectives purchased an identical wig as the one purchased just days earlier by the clown from the Spotlight costume shop. When authorities asked Sheila where she was on the morning of the murder, she tells detectives that she was out repossessing cars, but she couldn't recall where or which cars. And she tells the police that she's never been in a Chrysler LeBaron, which I find hard to believe because if you're in the car business and you're in the repo business, at some point your butt's been sitting in a Chrysler LeBaron. They don't even make those anymore, do they?
Nope.
So the police, they've brought both Sheila and Mike in separately for questioning, but they tell the detectives that they're just work colleagues and they're just friends. And they ask Sheila if she owned a clown costume, to which she said no. And there wasn't enough evidence to arrest Sheila. She did submit to a hair sample for evidence. Okay. So she gives them a hair sample and she gives them some blood. She does give them some blood.
All right.
And the detectives spread out, going to every party and balloon store in town. And when they go to a Publix grocery store near the crime scene and the costume shop in West Palm, they hit pay dirt. The detectives interviewed 2 employees from the Publix on North Military Trail in West Palm who recalled a female purchasing the exact flowers and balloons found at the scene less than 2 hours before the murder. Both of the employees described the person who purchased the items as a white female with long brown hair tied in a ponytail and having, quote, male mannerisms, end quote.
Really?
Male mannerisms. What's that? Like grabbing your crotch? That's the only male mannerism I can think of.
Or she was playing baseball in the middle of Publix.
I don't know. The Publix was located approximately 1 mile from Sheila's apartment. Now, more evidence followed when the Chrysler LeBaron, the car driven by the clown, was spotted in an abandoned Winn-Dixie parking lot on May 30th, 1990. And when the police run the plates, it's owned by and was reported stolen by Mike Warren. And on the subject of this white LeBaron, detectives also interviewed several witnesses from A Bargain Motors, which is owned by Mike.
It's theirs.
And numerous witnesses recalled an incident occurring approximately 45 days prior to the murder, where a married couple, a Mr. and Mrs. Restivo, I think they were an older couple, called A Bargain Motors, believing it to be a, quote, Payless car rental, end quote, trying to return a white Chrysler LeBaron they had rented.
Is that a coincidence?
I think not.
Okay.
The witnesses recalled Mike telling the couple just to leave the keys in the visor and that the car would be picked up. He knows it's not his car.
Yeah.
Mr. Claude Poitras, an employee of a Bargain Motors, told investigators that shortly after the phone call, he drove Mike Warren and Sheila Keen to Payless Car Rentals and observed them getting into a white Chrysler LeBaron and drive away. The same man stated that Mike told him not to say anything to anyone about the LeBaron. They stole this car from Payless Car Rental.
Wow.
Upon searching the car, a brown paper bag from Publix was discovered in the trunk, and strands of long, dark hair, along with orange fibers, were found inside the car. Orange fibers from a clown wig.
Yeah.
This is when they get a search warrant to rifle through Sheila's apartment. And while they're doing this, neighbors would tell police how they had assumed that Mike and Sheila were married. That's how often these neighbors said they saw him. And they claimed it was all hours of the day and night that Mike would come and go. Inside the apartment, police collected evidence finding long dark hair. Of course, she's got long dark hair.
Yeah,
she lives there.
Sure.
But they also find bright orange synthetic fibers consistent with an orange clown wig. Exactly what they found in the LeBaron.
And this was 1990, right?
1990.
So DNA wasn't.
Not quite a thing yet.
Yeah.
The items also collected from Sheila's home were 2 pair of black lace-up style shoes, which were consistent with the shoes that Joe, Marlene's son, and his friends said the clown was wearing. Remember, no floppy clown shoes.
Sure.
Crime scene investigation processed the shoes and recovered various hair fibers from the bottom of the shoes, specifically orange, yellow acrylic fibers and burgundy fibers. Police found fibers from the clown wig and human hair in the car, and after searching Sheila's apartment, detectives found these orange fibers, and they say that it matched the wig, and the burgundy fibers actually matched the car mats of the Chrysler LeBaron.
Okay.
Now, the costume and the gun are never, ever found.
Of course not.
Yeah.
They thought they were smart enough to, whatever.
Now, they also find hair on the ribbon from the balloons at the crime scene. This orange-yellow acrylic hairs from the wig purchased from the Spotlight costumers. And it's all the same. It's identical composition. They use microscopes, and they analyze everything. The burgundy hairs that were on the boots that are part of the LeBaron, the yellow and orange hairs that are part of the wig.
Right.
And so it seems like it's all coming together, right?
Sure.
Now, DNA analysis on the hair concluded that Sheila, could not be excluded at the source of the hair. And further DNA analysis on the skin portion of the hair root concluded that the defendant is the source of the skin on the hair located in the Chrysler LeBaron. So they can kind of put her in the Chrysler LeBaron.
So DNA was starting to be used.
It was starting to be used.
Okay.
It was. But it's not like it is now where they can take like the tiniest bit of something and glean DNA from it.
And I also remember during that period of time where lawyers would say this isn't, DNA isn't exact.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's important that you said that just now, because they take all of this to the DA and he says there's not enough to get a conviction, let alone a warrant for Sheila's arrest, because it's all circumstantial. And they don't want to take something into a grand jury when it's going to eventually go to trial, and the defense is just going to be like, they've got nothing.
Yeah.
They're wasting your time.
Your Honor, we want to throw all this evidence out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marlene was shot with a .38 caliber .357 gun, something they learn after her autopsy because they recover the bullet. But again, they never find the gun. But police learn that Sheila actually does carry a gun with her while she repos cars. But the gun that's in her possession is not a match to the murder weapon.
Yeah.
And the case goes cold.
Jeez.
Then while police are looking into Mike for the murder or conspiracy to murder his wife, see, the police are like, maybe the DA is not going to take this, but we're going to look into this cat a little bit closer and we're going to see what we can dig up.
It's almost like we know that he did it. We know that she was involved, but
we can't prove it.
We can't prove it right now. Yeah.
And what the police discover is that Bargain Motors, Mike's car business, was involved in a bunch of fraudulent activities. They raid Mike's car lot in October of 1990, just 5 months after Marlene's murder, and they find evidence of racketeering and odometer fraud.
Oh.
He was rolling back the odometers on the cars from his rental business in order to get the cars repaired under their warranty for free. And then he was selling the cars for more money than they were worth.
Wow.
Which makes it tracks because this is a guy who stole a rental car.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nothing. That's small potatoes. For
Yeah.
him.
On October 26th, Mike was arrested and charged with 66 counts, including odometer tampering, grand theft, and racketeering. He was convicted of 43 of those counts and sentenced to 9 years in prison, which he began serving on March 31st, 1994, so 4 years after Marlene's murder.
Okay.
He would only serve 7 of those 9 and is released on December 31st, 1997.
Okay.
And when he's released, who do you think is waiting for him?
No, you know who.
Sheila's waiting for him. But she's still married to Spud and would be until April 29th, 1999.
Oh, wow.
Now, by the way, Richard Spud Keen does pass away in 2016.
Wow.
Now, in 1999, after she's divorced from Spud, this is when the two of them moved to Abington, Virginia. They want a fresh start, and Sheila has even changed her name to Debbie. Something she's later going to tell the police is a nickname. Now, Rob is Robert. His nickname is
Bill.
I call him Robbie.
Yeah.
Or you might think that somebody might call him Red, but I don't think anybody ever has.
No, all my friends from my youth, they call me Robbie.
Robbie.
Yeah,
and I call him Rob. That's sort of my little sweet name for him.
Yeah. One of my best friends, Tommy Milligan, he calls me Robbie, and I call him Tommy.
Yeah.
Everybody else calls him Tom. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what you do with people that you've known
your
forever. I'm a Kristen. I go by Chris.
And I call you Chrissy every once in a while.
Right. My family calls me Chrissy because when I was a little girl, that's what they called me.
Yeah.
But she's Debbie. From Sheila to Debbie. Now, they live in Virginia for a bit, but they ultimately moved to Kingsport, Tennessee, where Mike opens a fast food place called The Purple Cow. And he and Sheila live in a beautiful, sprawling estate together. And in 2002, these two sneak off to Las Vegas, where they get married on August 15th in the Little White Chapel.
I get married in the chapel, oh love. That's Back to the Future, which is my all-time favorite movie.
Well, I just keep picturing like Elvis married them or something. No.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll pronounce you
my wife. You may kiss the bride. And then he like opens up his cape.
There you go. I'm glad you got this hunka beautiful.
There it is. There it is. 14 years after Marlene's murder, a cold case unit had retested old evidence and determined that Sheila's DNA matched the hair found in the suspected getaway car, to the point where they could actually say, that's her.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And when investigators started looking for Sheila, they learned that she had started a new life with an old flame, Mike Warren. And the couple married in 2002, 12 years after the murder. This is the police discovering all this. Yeah. And they realized that she's now Debbie Warren, Mike's new wife, and it's actually Sheila Keen. And now with new DNA testing available to them, they decide to test everything that they collected from Sheila against this strand of hair, the stuff that they found on the balloons at the crime scene, all of it. And everything is a perfect match. Now, Sheila and Mike had no idea they were being looked at all over again for the murder of Marlene. They'd spent the past 15 years establishing this new life in Virginia and Tennessee, where they were known as hardworking and friendly. They were just these people who owned a hamburger joint. Yeah. And nobody knew about their former life or about Mike's wife being murdered.
Right.
That is, until September 26, 2017, when a U.S. Marshal pulled over their black Cadillac Escalade in Virginia when Mike and Sheila are coming home from a trip. They arrest Sheila Keen Warren, charging her with murder 1 for the death of Marlene Warren, and a grand jury had indicted Sheila on August 31st, 2017, 27 years after the crime.
Wow.
So they take it to a grand jury, they get the indictment, and then they go after her, and the U.S. Marshals pick her up. And when detectives spoke with employees of the Purple Cow, one employee said Sheila, or Debbie as they called her, had dressed as a clown at the restaurant one year during Halloween, and even provided detectives with a picture of her appearing in clown makeup.
Wow.
That's some balls on that clown.
Yeah.
On September 27th, 2017, Sheila waives extradition to Florida, where she pleads not guilty in Palm Beach County and is booked and held without bond, awaiting trial in the county jail.
Wait, did they do her mugshot in the clown suit?
No, just her.
Just checking.
Now, the next day, the state attorney announced that if Sheila's convicted, Sheila faces life in prison or
the death penalty.
The death penalty, which they have in Florida. Now, with Sheila in jail, detectives continued their investigation to ensure a very strong case against her, and they continue the investigation of Mike Warren. And by all accounts, investigators were not letting go of the idea that Mike was also involved in the murder of his wife. Then police received a tip from a man by the name of John Warren Jr. John's father once worked for Mike, and Warren tells detectives in October of 2017 that he didn't think Sheila was the shooter. He also told them that Mike had sent him a Facebook friend request just recently, just right after Sheila is arrested by the U.S. Marshal. Months later, John Warren tells detectives that he had information that would lead them back to Mike for the murder of his wife.
Oh, wow.
He claimed that his father, years ago, made a deathbed confession. He said his dad told him that he drove a second getaway car the day Marlene was killed.
Really?
He also said that his dad confessed that the car and the gun that killed Marlene had been discarded in a canal. Now, he also tells the detectives that he'd been texting with Mike and exchanging Facebook messages and phone calls after Sheila's arrest. And Mike offered to buy him a house if he could help Sheila by testifying in her defense.
Okay.
Now, the detective who's been in charge of this, once it comes up the second time around, is Paige McCann, and she gets a search warrant for the cell phone records of this John Moran Jr. and his girlfriend and the number he used to contact Mike Warren. She's hoping it's going to lead to information that could implicate Mike in the homicide of his wife, as well as tampering with a witness. Mm-hmm. And then they can send divers to search for this second getaway car, and they do.
Okay.
The divers found a 1982 Audi, a car that was reported stolen in 1987. It wasn't one of Mike's repos. There's nothing in it like a gun or a clown suit. And John Moran tells a reporter the police got the wrong car. Now, according to Mike Warren, John Moran led the police on a wild goose chase looking for something to tie him to his wife's murder because he was angry that he had fired his father years ago. But John became increasingly worried that Mike was going to come after him for cooperating with the detectives, and he even asked the police for reward money so that he could relocate to avoid being harmed or killed by Mike.
Wow.
He thought he needed to go into witness protection or something.
Sure.
Because he ratted on this guy.
Right.
So prosecutors originally planned to seek the death penalty for Sheila. It is a first-degree premeditated murder, after all. Mm-hmm. But in February of 2020, the prosecution said they would no longer be seeking the death penalty. And Sheila's trial is set for May 29th, 2020, 30 years to the week after Marlene Warren is murdered.
What was her reason for not going after the death penalty?
I think they just realized, we could go for the death penalty. Is that overkill? We really just want to get a conviction.
Okay.
But when they set her trial, it's like 30 years, almost to the day that Marlene is murdered. But because of COVID, it's 2020, her trial was pushed to April 2021. Okay. Meanwhile, Mike is out there saying, this is crazy. They have no more evidence now than they did in 1990, and my wife is innocent. But then in 2023, Sheila was offered a, quote, sweetheart, end quote, plea deal. In exchange for pleading guilty to second-degree murder, she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Now, I think this is because the courts were so backed up through COVID. They were like, let's just get through these. Let's just get through as much as we can. And they offer her this deal.
Wow.
April 25th, 2023, Sheila Keen Warren, age 61, pleaded guilty to being the person who dressed up in a head-to-toe clown costume on the morning of May 26, 1990, and shot Marlene Warren, a mother and wife, in the face.
Wow.
Sheila was sentenced to 12 years for one count of second-degree murder, with credit for more than 5 years of time already served in Palm Beach County Jail since her arrest. She served her sentence at Gadsden Correctional Facility in Quincy, Florida, but due to credit for time served and several sentencing guidelines, she would be out in 16 to 18 months.
What? For killing someone?
Yeah.
Jeez.
But she accepted the plea deal.
Yeah, I know.
I think she would have gotten more time. It would have been worse. I mean, that's why they called it a sweetheart deal. Yeah. If she'd actually gone to trial and they showed all this DNA evidence, they would have been like, lock her up for life.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, hey, if you plead to second-degree manslaughter and say it was you, you're going to get time served, you're going to get out, and she did.
So it sounds like they did this so they could get to Mike.
I don't think so.
Okay.
On November 2nd, 2024, Sheila was released from prison as she was given credit for her good behavior and her time served. And as for Mike Warren, he has not been charged with any involvement in the crime. And what about Marlene's surviving son, Joe? Marlene's son claimed he wasn't savvy in all of the business dealings, and he basically got nothing. Mike took everything, all the money that they had made together. And her son, Joe, got nothing. All of the businesses and the properties, everything went to Mike.
Jeez.
And I understand that he and Mike are now estranged, which makes sense.
Yeah, go figure.
Joe, her son, has remained involved with updates on the case and has spoken to media following developments, including the arrest, the guilty plea, and the release of Sheila Keen Warren. Reports and interviews indicate that he has expressed feelings of relief at some form of justice, but also described long-term trauma and challenges related to losing both his mom and his brother to this accident, to his car accident.
Okay.
That's a lot
for
one person to handle.
Sure.
As of 2024, he still lives in Florida, Marlene's son, and he works to keep the attention focused on his mom's case, advocating for her memory and for her justice. So was justice actually served? I mean, it took 30 years, took 27 years before they held somebody accountable.
It doesn't sound like justice, though.
Yeah, well, and I think COVID helped in that whole situation. It's just a shame.
Yeah. Total
shame.
Wow.
But that is the story of Marlene and the killer clown. And that's all I have to say about that. For nearly 7 years, Jane Doe has lived in the shadows, her past buried deep beneath layers of secrecy and silence. After completing more than was asked of her in her last assignment for the enigmatic Kywolf project, Jane Doe vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of dead bodies and unanswered questions. But now, as the specter of her past returns with a vengeance, Jane finds herself thrust back into a world she thought she'd left behind forever. When her former sins come knocking on her door, Jane is faced with an impossible choice: continue to hide in the shadows, or once again take up arms against the forces that threaten to tear apart the fabric of society. With enemies lurking around every corner and allies who may not be what they seem, Jane must rely on her wits, training, and her unyielding determination to survive. And while trust is a luxury she cannot afford, Jane must confront the truth about herself and her past. As the clock ticks, she realizes that the line between family, friend, and foe are razor thin, and in the end, the only person she can rely on is herself. Jane Doe 4 Charlotte is available September 24th, 2024. No name, no regrets, no mercy.
Okay, well, here's my take on this whole thing.
Okay.
Which seems really screwed up. First of all, wouldn't the lawyer who initially was approached by Mike to say, if I were going to kill my wife, or if someone is going to kill her wife, how would they get away with it?
He does come forward. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. I meant to mention that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
He does come forward. He comes forward and says, listen, in 1987, like 2 years before she's murdered, he asks me this on the front steps of the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that didn't make any difference, though?
Yeah, he didn't pull the trigger.
Oh, jeez.
He didn't pull the trigger. And if she is out in 18 months for murdering somebody and he's just conspiring to do it,
right? What
are they going to give him? Nothing.
So
they're both out.
That's just messed up.
They're just out there living, roaming free.
Had 30 years of just hanging in there, and then she had 16 months about of her life taken away.
Well, she had more than that. Because she's arrested and then she has to sit in jail for a long time. And then she has to sit in jail through COVID.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, she is in jail for a period of time. And they gave her, credit for time served and good behavior. And then she was out, in 18 months.
I just can't believe they gave her that sweetheart deal. That's crazy.
Well, they did. And you know what? I hope Marlene is haunting both of them.
Yeah. Well, there's no sweetheart deals for these idiots that I'm about ready to bring up with a little bless your heart.
Well, bless your heart.
All right, number one, I'm calling, there's dumb, dumber, and then there's this.
And the dumbest.
Yeah. A 20-year-old woman in Utah got busted for underage drinking last Wednesday.
Oh.
I don't know when that Wednesday
Not a whole lot of drinking going on in Utah. Most of it's dry.
Yeah. Well, but then cops found weed. After she asked...
Okay.
And after she asked if they'd pack her a bowl before she went to jail.
What?
The whole incident started when the woman got into an altercation with her boyfriend and tried kicking out his windshield.
No.
Yeah, she was charged with consumption of alcohol by a minor, possession, and criminal mischief. She was taken to jail.
That's some mischief right there.
All right, number two. Mission Impossible. Oh, wait, no, really. It's Mission Impossibly Stupid.
Dun, 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 dun,
very nice. All right. Overnight video monitoring at the Kyle Target department store reported a male subject actively burglarizing the store.
I love me some Target.
There you go. Officers who responded to the scene found Ammons reportedly, that's his name, Ammons, reportedly making a poor attempt to hide behind a rack in the shoe department and arrested him without incident. Kyle police said in a release that a little over $25,000 worth of merchandise was recovered at the scene.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the part. Store surveillance video shows Ammons as he reported smashed electronic cases with loaded duffel bags with items. He allegedly also had cut a hole in the roof and entered Mission Impossible style.
Wow.
With a rope and a harness. Kyle Police Chief Jeff Barnett said in the release that Ammons was equipped with a two-way radio with an earpiece and admitted he was communicating with a getaway driver, but he refused to identify the driver.
Wow.
Yeah,
gosh.
Police are still looking for the driver of the getaway car, Barnett said. Yeah.
That's some slick stuff. By the way, you don't go to Target with a list. You go to Target and Target tells you what you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
All right, number three, and finally. What happened to just calling in sick?
Okay.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office said in a Facebook post that 32-year-old Brian Anderson called 911 to report an armed robbery. He reportedly told deputies that two unknown suspects took his money, his necklace, and his cell phone.
Not his necklace.
I know. They also threw his phone on the ground, jumped into a black Ford Crown Victoria, and sped away.
Okay.
Yeah, deputies responded to the scene with air and canine units, the post stated.
What?
However, none of Anderson's report was true, they soon learned. The sheriff's office said that Anderson confessed to making up the story because
He wanted a new phone.
No, he didn't want to show up for his 11 a.m. shift at the restaurant he
Oh, wow.
Anderson was arrested and charged with misuse of a 911 and knowingly giving false information to law enforcement. I also read that it was Hardee's that he worked at.
So they've got like the choppers out and looking and the canine unit out, and he just didn't want to go to work.
He just didn't want to go to work. So why didn't you just call in sick?
Yeah, go. I'm sick.
I don't want to cough on the burgers. Jeez, what a moron.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's very good. Well, if you have a bless your heart or you know somebody's heart who needs blessing, all you got to do is go to Hitch to Homicide. When you get there, there's a pull-down menu, and while you're there, you can also suggest a case or tell us about your brush with true crime. It's November.
Yes.
Everybody, it's getting chilly out. We're heading into the holiday season. It's getting exciting.
Yes,
Time for me to go to Target.
There you go. Just don't go through the ceiling.
That's my amazing husband out there.
That's my beautiful bride in the booth.
I won't go through the ceiling. Join us next time on Hitch to Homicide.
Bye, y'all.